living in times where my daughters are found around kids who can't afford thinking caps, but always found drinking raps and eating on beats, claiming laws of the streets. But who made the laws? Everybody playing rebel with no sign of a cause.
Feel the world around me. I found that others bring you down, just move you down. You got to make up your mind where you wanna be, where you wanna go with your life.
Yeah.
With your life.
I'm never singing the blues, but finding the clues to maintain. And I've been blessed to reign supreme over nearly every dream I had, and I made it come true. I'm an imperfect man, and I'm holding the clue to perfection. It doesn't seem to matter what direction I look. I find people setting traps, trying to find a goal without having any map. Even friends of mine jumped online just to become my adversary. They felt they were entitled to the theory I made. They don't come to chill or behave, and they got toast ready to burn, not learning to live, but they yearning to take what you earn.
I feel the world around me. I found that others bring you down, just move it down. You see, you got to make up your mind where you wanna be and where you wanna go with your life, with your life.
So quick to place blame and deny the shame we bring upon ourselves. So many names held accountable for my own account, when a large amount was weight that I made and shaped. When I climbed, I found it was hard to find others around to point my fingers at, which made me realize the truth. The biggest suppressor can be your own ego, looking for an excuse to plant roots in a field of self-sorrow to sprout and follow the first thing you feel. Nourishes your hunger to be respected. It gets hectic, and when I'm watching the news and my daughter walks in and chooses to ask, why were all those people on the floor, sleeping covered in red? I told her that they were looking for God but found religion instead.
I feel the world around me. I found that others bring you down, just bring you down, you got to make up your mind where you wanna be and where you wanna go with your life, with your life, with your life.
Good evening. Hello, Fletch. Hello, Tazik. Hello, Cat. And this, Howard the Duck. De La Soul. Excellent. Wow. If you know who they are, that is, I hope we get to meet someday, man, Fletch. If not, I'll let you know you got very, very good taste in music. So it is 10:36 p.m. Monday, April 27th, 2026. Mark Kulak, Houstonic.live, episode 1517 on the Houstonic.live show program. You could call it a podcast if you want, although this is not really much. This doesn't really fall into the standard podcast type show of archival and analysis. And building on the, I thought, rather strong program from yesterday, this deeper introspective of Joe Kent, the American who got a lot of visibility a few weeks ago right now, after his very public and Twitter-based resignation as the head of counterterrorism for the Department of National Intelligence, where he worked directly for Tulsi Gabbard for the United States government. And as I said, I refrained from looking into, more information about who he was. All I knew is that the cast of characters that were around him, this ecosystem around him, was not a very pleasant place to be. So when you become part of the Candace Owens discussion, it brings the likelihood that you're a real person down. But that doesn't mean it brings it down to zero with certainty, because there is a weird thing, a weird reality here, or unavoidable reality maybe, regarding Joe Kent, and that is that there are many people around him who are one or two hops away from people who've either contacted me or tried to influence me, and people who also have been involved in influencing and contacting Jonathan J. Cooey. So I am, at the moment, I am open. Let's put it this way, okay? When decisions are made about good and bad, we tend to no longer allow new thoughts to enter, right? So one of the hardest parts about being an analyst is to maintain the open mind as long as possible. Eventually, as an analyst, you have to make recommendations, but you miss a lot once you close the mind off. It's like if you believe that something tastes bad, you probably remember this from yourself being a kid or raising your own kids, right? Then almost everything that falls into that category, reminds someone of that thing, is just going to immediately be distasteful. And it's hard to break that. I mean, you can, and we do, but it's hard, and we have to maintain open minds. But eventually you realize, okay, you have to make a decision at some point. And hopefully you keep it open no longer than you need to, and then you use that as actionable information. So there really is, in this case here, people make a lot of bad decisions, and they build a lot of wrong information upon or further assumptions and further inferences based upon a bad foundation. And the bad foundation starts with making a judgment on something way too early, way before you need to make a judgment on something. There was no reason for any of us to have to know, right, if this Joe Kent is good or bad. A few weeks ago, there's no reason. I couldn't see a reason to know. I mean, I thought very poorly of a lot of the people around him, but why would I need to make a decision about his character, not knowing anything about him other than the company around him is bad? However, the company around him is also company that, in some cases, directly or indirectly, is tried to muck with me. And again, our trusted partner, and we line a lot, but there's some things that we don't agree on, which is actually a very, very good sign. Jonathan J. Cooey. Now, I'm not logged in on this machine here into Google, which is why it's actually showing an ad. Usually I don't have that problem here. So, Joe Kent, as I showed in yesterday's program, was on a lot of programs. He did a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, way before his resignation from the Department of National Intelligence. I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks ago right now. And he's only done a few since then. But I believe, again, not having looked into it too deeply until yesterday anyways, that most are not aware of the extent of the videos that Joe Kent was in before his resignation. I mean, he was just all over the place on the podcast circuit. Yes, his wife, the mother of his two children, died in January of 2019, and I have a video to add to that, which I'll play. And I think it provides a very interesting context, a very interesting backstory as to how we got here, or how he got into this position here. Now, why would there be some attempt to muck with this guy? Okay, so either, and again, we try to keep an open mind, okay, but either he's totally on board with the script, or there is an attempt to surround him with people who do manage the script and to nudge and poke and prod and to get him to say the things that are needed to be said. Consider for a moment, right on, Fletch. Consider for a moment Jonathan J. Cooey, PhD. Consider for a moment that I believe that by now Jonathan Cooey would have had a role as a senior person in the National Institutes of Health in the United States government today if he did not know me and if he did not talk negatively about Robert Malone. The very same guy that has done all of that other work, all that other research, has illuminated people on so many different topics, biology, that has made so much progress on intramuscular injection, and is so viscerally frustrated with the current state of affairs in the United States government, okay, would have a very senior role. He might have been put in charge of CBER. There's a very real possibility that Jonathan J. Cooey could have done that if he played ball. And, of course, that means that he's going to need to have trusted everyone talking to him, and it definitely means that he's not going to have a contact like myself, like a friendship like myself. Now, I believe that with all my being. And I believe Jay believes a little bit of that, too. I mean, he's just told that straight out. So we know that there are real people who could get senior government jobs if they play ball and if they say the right things. One of the things that Jonathan J. Cooey would have needed to say to get that job would have been something like, hey, there was definitely a lab leak. If he was on board with saying a lab leak and it was China, funny, here we are talking China again, right? He's in. That's it. He needs to submit and become the voice of something. They needed someone with that level of integrity, PhD, etc., a cool factor, who could do that. Jonathan Cooey was put where they wanted him to be that person, and he wasn't. He could have been if he wanted to flex, if he wanted to sell out some. He chose not to. I respect him dearly for that. So, I'm bringing this up to remind us about what Jonathan Cooey has done and accomplished. And I also bring this up to remind you that there's a possibility that there could be other people out there. So here we have Joe Kent. His wife died in a bombing in Syria. He has 2 children. Handsome fellow. He was in the service for 15, 18, 19 years. He did 11 tours. And he is frustrated that U.S. military personnel are being used for reasons which are not always clear. He wants an end to endless wars. Based upon what I can see, and I'm going to show you a Fox News show, which is going to really, really open your eyes. He became known to many people in 9/11 family support and to President Trump since early 2019, at the time of his wife's death. There's a lot of things. He's getting into this situation where he can almost run for politics. Matter of fact, Trump suggested he should run for a political office. Joe Kent would be the perfect person to speak out against the endless wars and add one dimension to it. Just like Jonathan Cooey added one dimension, all he needed to do was to sign on to say, you know what? Hey, AK, how you doing? All Jonathan Cooey needed to do was sign on and say, you know what? It's a lab leak. It's China. That's all he needed to do. Okay, he just needed to bend a little bit, and he was in. Like Flynn, General Flynn, but in like Flynn. All Joe Kent needs to do, he could get money. He can get a book deal, a movie deal, financials. All he needs to do is say, you know what? No endless wars, but he has to add something to it. He has to say it's Israel. That's all he needs to do. If he can say it's Israel, and then maybe even suggest, Epstein, Jews, Trump, his entire future is secure forever. He needs to sell that. They need him to sell that. And I can see this trajectory of Joe Kent where he starts off wanting an end to endless wars. That's beautiful. I want an end to this. We all do, okay? And I support the the research and the staffing and the whatever's necessary for American veterans and for U.S. military. I totally support it, but questionable, ambiguous, endless wars, it's got to end. Okay, it has to end. So I would like that too, but I don't want it to end just because I think it's one specific thing behind it. But they need him to say this, and I can see him starting off like in 2019, 2020. It's just no endless wars, and like me, I think of myself. And you know what happened to me when I started to do research and I started to do video streams like this and have a program is 3 different people sent me the Protocols of Zion book. I never wanted to read it. And even if it's true, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's a sort of small percentage of people, you know. And being, you know, an American with family from all different lineages, you know, I'm just not interested in it. There was a big push that you have to accept this. I'm like, what? Why? You know, one of my Jewish great grandfather had his house taken from him by the state of Connecticut so they could build an exit ramp, and he died poor. So I don't understand this whole, you know, conspiracy thing. You know, it's stupid. Anyways, and that was in Stratford, Connecticut. There's probably a newspaper article out there. Last name Eisenman, if you want to dig into it. Anyways, he slowly started to say military-industrial complex and Israel more and more and more. And as he did that more, he got more podcast time. That's what they needed him to do. There was a time, like in his first show with Tucker Carlson, he mentioned opioid addiction being a problem for U.S. troops. I'm glad he mentioned that. No one will mention that. Tucker Carlson was probably... I'm surprised they actually didn't edit it out. Maybe they tried to. I don't know how those things work. I'm surprised they did not edit that out, though. But by the end of the year, and then by the next year, it's just Israel. And that's it. So they pushed him, they coached him, they surrounded him, and I tried to get his phone number because I wanted to call him. I want to talk to the Joe Kent personally. I'm sure that he is totally surrounded. I saw a picture. He shared a picture on his Twitter feed with Marjorie Taylor Greene 2 days ago. So again, they've surrounded him. He is right now 100% controlled. All right? And he may not even know it, but he's controlled. So, and that's it. So there's no more thinking on his behalf. Now, he may think that he's thinking, but his accounts are probably managed. He's probably thinks it's just done for efficiency, but he doesn't know I even exist. He doesn't know Jake who exists, and there's possibly several other people in this situation that we just don't know about, but because of the segmentation of the internet, we just haven't found them yet, and they haven't found us. Anyways, here on this, so this is the interview with Shawn Ryan, Series 291. And the clip I wanted to play is somewhere around, I think it's an hour and 23 in, okay? And let's see here.
Conflict. I think the Israelis once again got nervous about a month ago because they knew that what.
And this came out 3 weeks or so ago.
Engaging with the Iranians to get a deal, and that's why the Israelis launched their attack, knowing they could force our hands. And that's why I think you saw Marco Rubio and others come out immediately and say, "Well, yeah, there was an imminent attack, and the imminent attack was
we need to go about an hour and 20 minutes in,
and then we knew that they would retaliate back against us."
Why would they?
Pretty crazy, right?
Why do we have?
Okay, so we are an hour and Actually, it's a section titled "Why Israel Gets a Pass." Okay.
Pretty crazy, right?
Why do we have reluctancy to do it to Israel?
I mean, there's obviously the Israeli lobby factor, AIPAC and all the other surrogates that spend so much money on our elections. There's major donors. Miriam Adelson gave, I mean, someone can look this up, hundreds, like I think $100 million to Trump's campaign. And she's not the only, she's,
$100 million.
I think someone can look it up. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head. Significant. And there's other.
Adelson is an investor. He's an American investor. He's an American. So he's allowed to give a lot of money. Just because he's Jewish and connected with an Israeli lobby, I mean that's Israel. But he's going, Shawn Ryan steers him straight into talking about the Israeli lobby. Now, of course, where does the money come from Israel? Well, people say the U.S. gives to Israel, but you have to look at other things as well. For example, the largest purchaser of Israeli military equipment is India. Sorry. So, and I can find polls saying more people in Israel see India as their future and not the United States. So why not consider the possibility that Israel is a conduit for control via India? I mean, if all this money came to the United States from Peru, where would it come from? You can say, oh, well, so in this case, they'll say, well, Israel has money because they get it from the United States. Okay, so that means that the United States sends Israel money so Israel can control the United States, or maybe the U.S. uses Israel as a middleman so that they can fund their own elections or something. But they're just looking at it all wrong. Anyways, let's continue because this is where it gets really gross.
Other really prominent donors that are very pro-Israel, many of whom are dual citizens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the owner of OnlyFans, he just died today.
Right.
But,
big AIPAC donor, right?
He was the biggest donor to AIPAC.
Right.
Did you know that?
I just learned that today, actually. I had to check that myself because I wasn't aware of that until he
He's
passed
fucking
away.
dead now.
He's being fed information. He's being told what to think and what to do.
But,
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a pimp who funds AIPAC so that we can go to war. Yeah, make it make sense. But I think the Israeli lobby is part of it. But I also think that there is a massive outpouring of support from like the evangelical community in America, evangelical Christians. And also I think a lot of people.
Is there really? I keep hearing that as well. Not really. Not really. That's what we're told. Not really. I mean, some of the leaders will say that because that's what they're told to say, but most Americans don't want to go to Israel. Most Christians don't want to go to Israel. So again, it's more of this Zionist mythology.
Especially the baby boomer generation have just been led to believe that Israel's a democracy. The Israelis, they speak English. They sound like us. I've dealt with the Israelis quite a bit. Like they're pretty pleasant to deal with. They're easy to deal with. I mean, because a lot of them are educated in America. It's easy to get complacent around the Israelis because like they don't have that foreign feel. And so they do a good job of selling, hey, we have the same interests here, man. We're just this, we're the same. So a lot of it is financial. You have a spiritual component to it. And then you also have the Israelis basically by providing us with a lot of intelligence and potential access, even though I think a lot of that is to inform us, or is to influence us rather than inform.
Yeah, you had already mentioned that a lot of that stuff isn't in the intel pipeline.
You're right, exactly.
Okay, it was actually an hour and 36, a little bit later. So hold on here, just because it's really hard to listen to this. It's an hour 33 in.
Gas prices are back up, like we're back in the Biden era again, unfortunately. So I think that's going to factor heavily on voters. And then the MAGA issue, man, the people that like were hardcore, who were small dollar donors to President Trump and to candidates like me when I was running with his endorsement, them not coming out or them being disenfranchised or them being
he endorsed
torn
you
on this war. He endorsed me twice. Yeah.
Trump endorsed you.
Yeah, twice.
Wait, Sean Atwood doesn't know that Joe Kent was at Trump's house? Joe Kent brought his family to Mar-a-Lago. And Trump was... How does Sean Ryan not know this?
Well, in his speech today, made it sound like he just felt sorry for you because your wife died in combat.
Yep.
And he just like handed you a job, which honestly, I was listening to that. I'm like, if that's how you hand jobs out to your fucking administration, no wonder we're in the fucking place we're at.
Yeah.
You just handed out pity jobs. Here you go.
Yeah.
He didn't give a pity job.
I mean,
Like, maybe look at their background. And, you know, this is how we wind up with people like fucking Sebastian Gorka.
I think Trump just got into they put him into a position where he needed to say something about Manny. I think he's frustrated because I'm doing these media appearances. So he's going to fire back. Like for me, I don't take it personally. I want him to just focus on what we're
So professional. Wow. I have to say, Joe Kent, that answer is so professional.
talking about. Focus on getting us out of this crisis.
Listen to how Shawn Ryan wants people. He uses F-bombs and these disgusting people. And blah, blah, blah. And Joe Kent is so professional here. I don't take it personal. I just want him to focus on what he needs to do.
And then also, like you said, for the midterms, I mean, you're going to need a lot of hardcore MAGA people to come out to knock on doors to do that hardcore work. Because working elections, it's not easy, it's not fun, it's not glamorous. The MAGA base, Trump's base, they're hardworking people, and they got him across the finish line. In 26, a lot of them. Now, it's debatable how much, but a good chunk of them are going to have a really hard time doing that because of the way this last year has gone.
Don't come banging on my fucking door. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear more of those fucking lies.
I hear that from a lot of people.
It's everything, Joe. It's everything. Did you see the glyphosate?
Listen to the way this maniac talks. Listen to the way this sick man talks.
Stuff?
I did.
The Make America Healthy Again movement?
Right.
Immunity.
Right.
Immunity.
Yep.
Because of what? A national security issue? Do you know how many people fucking died of cancer last year? 618,000. That's not a national security concern? You know where the highest concentration of glyphosate is? Mm-mm. It's in Iowa. Do you know where the highest concentration of cancer is?
Iowa.
It's in Iowa.
Yeah.
And he just gave them immunity.
Yeah.
We're calling the fentanyl crisis a national security concern. That's 100,000 people. Cancer is 618,000 fucking people.
And right there, I'm telling you what, I have never been more disgusted with somebody. First off, most cancer deaths, I'm generalizing here, are elderly people. There are young people that die of cancer. And you want to talk about cancer diagnosis, cancer treatments, okay, you can break that down. I understand, but many times cancer is seen as again, whatever it is or isn't, an end-of-life situation. But then he just says, this fentanyl thing, 100,000. Most people who die of fentanyl overdoses are under the age of 45. And it's considered to be like an accidental an event, somewhat like falling off a ladder.
In 1 year.
And Shawn Ryan will promote people that will use drug overdose deaths with the statistical magic to suggest we had a deadly novel virus coming out of a laboratory in China.
Yeah.
And he just gave them immunity.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Kent, if Joe Kent knew the talking points that I had, he would do something other than say, yeah. But he doesn't. He's not equipped. And now that he's surrounded by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Shawn Ryan and every other, other of these fake anti-American conservatives, okay, he'll never hear it. He'll never hear the rational description of what the difference is between intramuscular injection and ingestion. He'll never hear it. He's not going to be equipped because they have him surrounded.
I think your frustration, your anger is felt by a lot of people who voted, who campaigned,
The Epstein
who
files?
really believed the Epstein files.
The
Yeah,
fuck is that?
right.
Are you serious right now?
And who died in the Epstein files? Nobody. Nobody died. Sorry. The answer of how many people died in the Epstein files is 0. So that's it. We need to ignore. So we just need to ignore the opioid crisis because why? Because old people die of cancer, and there's massage photos of Bill Clinton, and that's why Trump is awful. Trump is awful. Trump is awful. Now, just to make my point, okay. I went into I downloaded the transcript here for this file. The Shawn Ryan file, okay? I downloaded the transcript, and you can get the transcript straight from YouTube. Guess how many times the word Israel is said in this 2-hour and 10-minute video? Take a guess. Take a guess. How many times is Israel said, and how many times is India said? Take a guess. Take a guess. I'm going to check out the answers here. Just wild, just a wild guess. How many times do they say Israel? How many times does it say India? Now remember, India is the largest purchaser of Israeli military equipment. Actually, no. AK, you're wrong. It's higher. 109 times they say Israel, and they say India 0. Now, much of Israel's power right now comes from India. So, if Israel is so powerful that they control the world, then we must, therefore, assume that the money that goes to Israel, which includes India, is also equally responsible. Because if India disappeared, Israel would be toast. That's the reality right now. So they are trying to get everyone disgusted at Israel. And again, I'm not here to love or hate other countries. My only job is for the United States to do the best it can, and hopefully other people in other nations do the same. Not here to pick pick favorites or enemies. I mean, life is way too short for this stuff. 109 to 0. 109 to 0. How many times is China mentioned? I think I forgot. I did count that. It's somewhere around 10. Let me just verify it here live, okay? China. China is mentioned once at 158, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. China's mentioned 12 times. Israel's mentioned 109 times, and India is mentioned 0. This is exactly where they need Joe Kent to be, to just have, it's Israel, it's the Jews. Oh, and it's not the Jews, it's the Israeli Jews. It's not really the Israeli Jews, it's the Israeli Zionist Jews. Oh, it's not all Zionists, it's some Zionists. It's the Christians, it's not the Christians, it's the evangelical Christians. It's the Zionist evangelical Christians that are aligned with the Vatican, but not the Vatican ones that work with this particular branch of this divinity. No, it's these religions and this Jews and these Jews and those Jews, but not this Zionist, but just those types of Zionists. And it's like, really? How many freaking ways are you going to try to break it up? And the foul language and the anger and the disgust, and he's just doing this enchantment. I'm just going to play it again. It is so disturbing. And Joe Kent, he doesn't have the education, I shouldn't say education, but the awareness of these subjects to have anything to say in response other than yeah. And of course, because he's going to be hanging out with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he's going to be hanging out with Tucker Carlson, and he's going to be hanging out with Tim Pool and everyone else who's all part of the control around him. I mean, let's just go back.
Did you see the glyphosate stuff?
I did.
The Make America Healthy Again movement.
Right.
Immunity.
Right.
Immunity.
So glyphosate. Look, I wouldn't suggest injecting and snorting glyphosate. All right, but there's a lot of people who live two very long lives and have used glyphosate. There's a lot of people that live long lives and have used glyphosate. It's a complicated issue. However, I bet you that if you could find people who have never been intramuscularly injected with a vaccine, unless they die in an accident, they almost all live to 90 years old. Even if they use some glyphosate. So here we are. Shawn Ryan is part of protecting the system. Joe Kent can't be expected to know this.
Yep.
Because of what? A national security issue? Do you know how many people fucking died of cancer last year? 618,000.
How does
It's
he
not a
know
national
that?
security concern. You know where the highest concentration of glyphosate is? It's in Iowa. Do you know
Really?
where the highest concentration of cancer is?
Iowa.
It's in Iowa.
Yeah.
And he just gave them immunity.
Yeah. I mean,
We're calling the fentanyl crisis a national security concern. That's 100,000 people. Cancer is 618,000 fucking people in 1 year.
Now, notice he just said a year. He only said a year for the cancer. And again, there's no information here about ages. There's no information here about the impact on demographics. None of that stuff here is listed here. It is a very disingenuous piece of information. And I do know that going back to 2021, there was a time when Joe Kent seemed to somewhat regularly, although I wish he said it with more detail and more abundantly, talk about the drug addiction component with respect to U.S. military veterans. Not happening here, though. All right, so here's a part of the Joe Kent story that I'm almost certain you are unfamiliar with. All right, and the reason why most people don't know this is because they haven't really put these pieces together yet here. So Joe Kent's wife died in Syria. I think it was like in middle of January. Why is that not control? Come on, Control V. Control V, Control V. I will try it again. Control C. Come on, can I do a Control V up here, please? Okay, excellent. No, it's not the one I wanted. Here we go. Control C. Okay.
President Trump traveling to Dover Air Force Base yesterday to honor the return of 4 Americans killed in an ISIS attack in Syria this week.
One of those service members is Chief Petty Officer Shannon Kent, who leaves behind a husband.
Why is it doing that?
and 2 young children.
Well, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which does such great work, you've seen them on Fox and Friends, they help pay off mortgages for families of fallen heroes of all kinds. This morning, the organization is planning to help the Kent family in a big way. And joining us now is the CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Frank Siller. Frank, great to have you back. Unfortunately, under these difficult circumstances. But of course, we all know you lost one of your brothers, a New York City firefighter, on 9/11.
This is January, I think, this is January 20th, 2019. This is only 2 days after Joe Kent's wife died.
And this family, the Kent family, has ties, firefighters in the family, and it really hits personally to you.
It does. Her uncle actually called me up the night this happened, and when he found out, he's a retired New York City firefighter, Vinnie Plover, longtime friend. I went to high school with him. The Plovers, so the Chief Petty Officer Kent's mother grew up on Staten Island. We're a Staten Island family, so we knew the Plovers for over 60 years, as a matter of fact. So Vinny called up and told me what had happened to his niece Shannon. I remember when she joined the service, because he called me then too. He said, "Frank, my niece is joining, the Navy. She wants to go out because what happened on 9/11," and he was so proud of that fact. So he was.
She wanted to serve our country.
She wanted to serve our country. It's very, very sad. Now, that whole family it knows about serving. Vinny was a firefighter. His father, so her grandfather, was a New York City cop. The father, Shannon's father, is New York, one of the highest-ranking New York State police officers. Brother's a Marine, and her husband served this country too. And they leave behind two beautiful boys.
Now, your organization, Tunnel to Towers, has done such transformative work for people's lives. So amazing. How do you hope to help this family?
Well, listen, we want to take the pressure of a mortgage off this family. We know they just finished a house, their forever home, making plans. It's incredible how life changes in a moment. So we're asking everyone to go to tunneltotowers.org. Join us on this, just like we just did for the Singh family.
Out in California.
Out in California, the police officer out there that we raised the money and paid off the mortgage. So we're starting this today. Go to tunneltotowers.org. You can make a donation to Shannon Kent's family and 2 boys left behind, a husband. Now, also, you could join us on $11 a month mission. That we're asking everyone, all Americans out there, come on, get off the couch, go out there and sign up for this $11 a month, because there's so many. There was like.
Now, I don't know how successful they were, but the Tunnels to Tower program, 2 days after the death of Shannon Kent, announced that they plan to have a fundraiser to pay off the mortgage of their forever home. That's amazing. That's fantastic. But this, so her family is blue collar, but connected in with the fire departments and state police in New York State, which means it's more than likely, as we know, that Trump met Joe Kent at Dover for the arrival for one of the memorial services for Shannon Kent in, I think this would have been late January or early February of 2019. So, as Joe Kent said, his family had grown close to Trump's family. That's what he said at Mar-a-Lago in 2022. So, it doesn't make any sense that Trump would just then so easily dismiss this relationship based upon Joe Kent's resignation. It just doesn't make any sense. It certainly doesn't make any sense what George Webb has been saying, that Joe Kent is part of a CIA assassination team where he hires Ukrainians and Iranians and I don't know, people from Zanzibar, who the hell knows, to run around and assassinate people like Charlie Kirk and ultimately the president. That is actually the most ludicrous, absurd, stupidest thing almost anyone has been saying on the internet over the last month. But I'm pretty confident that George Webb could find a way to actually top that off in a way that is award-winning. But let's not dwell too much on that. It also means that, look, if you, who cares? If you lose your best friend, you lose the parents of your children, life's different, all right? You move on. Now, maybe they got a few $1,000s. Maybe because if your loved one dies in military service, the United States government is not going to pay off your mortgage. That's for sure. So this charity might have actually delivered well, which creates a very weird situation where now you have Joe Kent, father of two, with a war hero wife who is deceased as of 2019, and a friendship with President Trump. And even worse, if they delivered tunnels to towers, if they delivered on some of this promise, it's possible that Joe Kent is mortgage-free. This is a really bad scenario if you don't want someone like Joe Kent, who has some trusted relationship with President Trump, running for office. This is very, very bad. As I said yesterday, most Americans are poor. Most Americans are poor. They live in trailers. Quite a few are homeless right now. We have record levels of homelessness. They are underwater in their homes. They have huge mortgages. They have huge rents. They don't have a lot of savings. We have a small percentage of Americans who are amazingly rich. But many Americans are poor. Many Americans can't run for office because they're broke. But if you were to alleviate someone's college loans, their car loans, and their mortgage so that they could live on a very small amount of money, a lot more Americans might start making a podcast. A lot more Americans might start doing real, genuine, independent online research. They may start running for local office. They may run for state rep jobs and so on, or even to be a federal representative. But that isn't happening much right now because most Americans are poor. So Joe Kent is now in a very weird situation, an unusual situation where you have this American-born person who served in the U.S. military, who's well-spoken and even-keeled, had a war hero wife die in service in 2019, and has a friendship with Trump, and potentially, because he has his own pension right now, is alleviated of some of the biggest financial expenses. This is exactly the type of person that you need to reach out and control. And sure enough, you start chipping away at it. And then eventually, what does it lead to? Well, it leads to Shawn Ryan, trying to mesmerize you in his studio, surrounded with his lighting and his purple wall and all of his drinks on the wall, because I guess that's what real men do. They hang out in the dark with illuminated, alcoholic drinks around them. And saying over and over again, Israel, Epstein, Israel controls Epstein, the pedos, Epstein, pedos, Israel, Epstein, pedos, Israel. And it's just over and over and over again. Trump did this and effing that. I thought Shawn Ryan was an American patriot. But I guess everything, as the Redacted show just said with Tucker Carlson, everything is a lie right now. Well, if you knew everything was a lie, why didn't you say that 10 years ago? You've been repeating the same lies all this time and never saying any truth. Now, I'm sorry, they're not the people that can say that. But anyways, I am optimistic that Joe Kent's a real person. I'm optimistic. I wouldn't bet a lot on it because of everything I've been through and all the disappointments I've had. But I'm optimistic that Joe Kent's a real person with a good heart who right now is basically on lockdown. He is surrounded by manipulators, and he is surrounded by people who are enchanting him hour after hour after hour, throwing around the books of Zionism and showing him Epstein photos and just passing him off from one friend to the next to reinforce the whatever mystery they want him to accept and to promote. It's kind of sad. But I could see how someone like myself could have been in that chair if it wasn't for a couple of, friendships that I had. Jonathan Cooey, who the hell knows, could be in a chair like that. If you just have the right people, if you don't have any trusted connections left. Unfortunately, I think, as far as from what I can tell, Joe Kent right now is on an island, and he's surrounded. I'm very, very pessimistic about the possibility of contacting him. However, though, this is a great chance to see how all of these other operators work. I mean, keep in mind, this machine that is around him includes... Let's see, do I still have it open over there? I should. Right? Do I have it open over there? Yeah, I can open it up on here. It includes Robert Malone and Tommy and Joe Kent, working on Joe Kent. Now, this is very important. Why is Robert Malone involved in working Joe Kent? I thought Robert Malone was a vaccine guy. What's he doing here? Well, Robert Malone, and I'm going to say this in a way that's very unspecific. Robert Malone is involved in some type of agency with India. That's why Robert Malone's intellectual property always seems to be wrapped up with India. That's why his vaccine candidates are wrapped up with India. That's why he has a partnership with Reliance Life Sciences. That's why he had this long-term relationship with Inder Verma. That is why he has supported basically everyone that has pushed the India-centric narrative that China had a lab leak, including even right now promoting an Armenian woman in England named Sonia Elijah that China and Wuhan did it, even suggesting that it somehow is because of the Zionists and Trump and Mossad and Epstein and Jews and Trump. Of course he's there. And you have to repeat the mantra. It's Israel, it's Israel, it's Israel, it's Israel. Now, here's the thing. They don't actually hate Israel, because Israel is a key part of IMEC, the India Middle East Economic Corridor. Israel, right now, the largest purchaser of Israeli military equipment is India. So Israel isn't going to lose in this deal. Israel's going to be fine, as far as from what I can tell. So they can get Americans all focused on one thing and not realizing that behind the scenes is a country with, there's 120 people in India for every one person in Israel. India right now has almost 10 times the GDP that Israel has. So the per capita GDP is much less. It's a much younger company. They're sending workforces all over the world, including Japan, including the United States, including Canada, including Russia. India's filling in the gaps with imbalances with the population pyramid all around the world. So they get Joe Kent to go on the air, with this ass clown, Shawn Ryan, and just nod his head. It's Israel. It's Israel. And over the course of 2 hours and 10 minutes, they say Israel 109 times. And India, 0. Here's the thing, okay? If India has 100 times the population of Israel and 10 times the GDP, and considering that they are very dependent in the future on getting their energy from Iran, here's the thing. Israel doesn't need Iran's energy. They're fine. Israel could be energy independent. They don't need it. India needs it desperately. China wants energy there also. But it's really about India. So if they have a conversation that has Israel mentioned 10 times and India mentioned 100 times, then the mentions would be approximately aligned, okay, with the with the ratio of GDP and it's in the right direction of capita and populations. But it's just the opposite, right? It's just the opposite. Imagine if you got I don't know a paper. Imagine if one day you got a paper cut, and then you cut off all 10 fingers in individual saw accidents. But instead of mentioning the fact that you had 10 individual saw accidents, that you lost all 10 fingers, you talk about your paper cut 100 times, but forget to mention that your fingers were cut off. That's the crazy thing about the Israel mentions. It is proportionally opposite of where you should be focusing. No, I don't care if people don't look. If you want to talk about Legos or something, or smallmouth bass fishing, you don't have to talk about India or Israel. It's not that. But these conversations, they're meant to mention Israel over and over and over again, precisely because it's I guess it's the root of everything. That is why, and again, let's follow the logic again yesterday. Robert Malone had a professional relationship with Richard Verma, the Indian-born man who became the ambassador to India during the Obama administration. Richard Verma also, by the way, went on to lead economic recovery Ukraine for the United States State Department. He also worked for Hillary Clinton as the number 2 in the United States State Department. Richard Verma also is married to an Armenian woman, by the way. Robert Malone likes to work with Armenians for narrative control. That is a China lab leak. The Armenian woman that Richard Verma is married to, her grandfather was involved in revenge assassinations against Turkish Muslims, going all the way back to the Armenian genocide. I don't see any of this coming up. It's just Israel. That's it. You don't need to know anything else. And it's no one specific in Israel either, which is beautiful. It's just, it's these Jews, not all Jews. It's some Israelis, not all Israelis. Some Israelis and some Christians, and then these people here who live on that mountain. But only the people that wear, hats in this particular direction. But not necessarily all the evangelicals, but some of them, and the Zionists. But only the late Zionists and the everyday Zionists and the Jews. And it's just, they're breaking it down into eventually it's nobody. But be mad at Trump or something. Anyways, the ambassador thing matters here because Joe Kent has become friends with Charlie Kirk, and one of Charlie Kirk's, I would say, 5 best friends is Sergio Gore, who's the new ambassador to India. So central to this conversation is India. Robert Malone doesn't work with the ambassador to Israel. He worked with the ambassador to India. Joe Kent didn't work with the ambassador to Israel. Joe Kent worked with the current ambassador to India. I'm not making this up. This is the facts. So when population is India, when energy demand is India, when IMEC is being driven by India, when Robert Malone's patents, intellectual property, friendships are in India. He has an illuminated lion head of the Indian Intelligence Agency over his podcast studio there. He's working with the ambassador to India. He's working with Richard Verma, who's controlling information in the United States. He's working with Jayanta Bhattacharya, the Indian-born National Institutes of Health director, who doesn't say opioids. Meanwhile, Joe Kent with Charlie Kirk, the only swearing-in ceremony that Charlie Kirk's widow attended, Erica Kirk, was Sergei Gore, the new ambassador to India. I'm not even trying hard. And instead of any of this getting visibility, it is 2 2 hours of Shawn Ryan chanting Israel and Epstein. With his purple walls and his stupid paintings and the illuminated bottles, and it's probably all water too. It's just a studio. Oh my God! Does he have shoes with no socks on? I can't get any. I thought it couldn't get any worse. Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Oh, my God. Does his mug say the show? Yeah, that's right. He's showing his ankle. Oh, my. Oh, good. I'm so sorry, everyone. I scarred you like this. Oh, wow. That's terrible. Man. Wow. Look, if you you wake up in the morning, you can walk around your house barefoot, your sandals, whatever. I don't care. I mean, it's actually refreshing to be barefoot, or just to have a pair of slip-on shoes around the house. I get it, okay? But in America, in the United States of America, when you're a man, when you go out in public, put some socks on. Put on socks. I would rather see you with socks in no shoes than shoes in no socks. I'm not saying it's the right way around the world. Maybe it's perverse or weird. I don't know. I don't care. It's a culture in America. It's American culture. Put some socks on those foot. That is disgusting. Oh, wow. Okay, guys. That's enough. That's enough. I just wanted to capture that. Not the ankle skin. Oh my goodness, that is so gross. Oh God. Oh, I'm sorry for the blasphemy. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, I need to close this out. I need to close this out right now. I'm gonna have some nightmares right now. All right, guys. Love you much. I'm going to bed. This will put you to sleep. It's a good song to shuffle dance to, by the way.